watch
I
up
can't hear
and
nothing.
deliver a legacy-defining performance, there's very few athletes in the world that
The
possess
volume go
that
for y'all?
big game gene. That's
All right,
something
there we
you can do
go.
when the lights are shining the
Hey,
brightest,
man.
the stakes are at an all-time high. They go out there with
They
ice
not
in their
doing it like
veins.
this no
A short while
more.
later, once the clock strikes 0,
Coming in looking
turn
like
off
Chris
the
Brown
TV,
flying off the hoe.
leave the arena. What they did is top of
Nah,
mind.
for real, bro.
Those Showtime type guys that don't just meet pressure head on, but relish every single moment.
So many great
saving
matches
their
with Shawn
best for
Michaels,
the
man.
grandest stage. WWE wise, it doesn't
Top
get
10
any
for
bigger
sure.
than
Really,
WrestleMania,
really
and
top
to be
5.
the guy year in, year out who makes.
Imagine coming in like that. Bro, you 6, 7, however, you know what I'm saying? You a young cat. And you got somebody like Shawn Michaels swinging in from the goddamn rafters. That's tough. That's really tough, bro. The tickets was probably cheaper. Especially like if you're in a bigger city like Houston, like Vegas, just any like major city. Man, like, oh, I know that was so lit back
their
then.
playground with the tagline of Mr. Wrestlemania is the ultimate honor.
Like the
That title that
pyro,
belongs to the
everything.
Heartbreak Kid himself, Shawn
HBK.
Michaels. I know off the hop, people are probably asking the question, how can you be Mr. Wrestlemania if you have a losing record? At the core of it, yeah, wins and losses matter, but
Booted Ric Flair over there. Why look like he got hit with it too?
if you have a losing record. At the core
I'm
of it,
sorry. I love you. And then catching the sweet chin, boy.
yeah, wins and losses matter.
Let me go. Let me order a DX shirt.
Criteria that define someone's legacy.
Let me get a Shawn Michaels wrestling tee.
The breathtaking moments created, the competitors'
Man.
the dramatic inability to perform in heightened situations. Then, of course, match quality.
Yep, him with Bret Hart was a little
That last
feud.
part is something
All right.
that hits you
Did he almost
square in
beat?
the chin.
Did he almost beat the Undertaker at What's that buzzing? Oh, it's my phone. Let me move this for y'all. I'm sorry, y'all. Hold on. I'm sorry, y'all. What was his record? What was Undertaker record? It was like what, 17-0? 17-0, I think. And then Shawn Michaels almost ended it. He was about to go 18-0 and Shawn Michaels almost ended it.
Resume from top to bottom. Ladder matches,
It was one of them.
matches, Iron Man matches, championship matches, no holds barred matches, triple threat matches, dream matches. At one point, even as a referee, Shawn was cementing another chapter into his WrestleMania story. Everything started when a 24-year-old moonwalking HBK walked into WrestleMania 5.
Only got a wig on.
Marty Jannetty to take on the Twin Towers. The first few years were pretty inconsequential, even though all the performances.
Well, like the Ultimate Warrior.
After opening the show at both WrestleMania 8 and 9 against Tito Santana and Tatanka, came the first classic, a match with historical significance. WrestleMania 10 against Razor Ramon. The first ladder match WWF put on pay-per-view. Now,
WrestleMania 10.
on the biggest night of the year, you have to go out there and make a never-before-seen match type work. And to add to that, the location is Madison Square
Garden.
When you look at WWE's lure on some of these matches, we know how they operate. There's certain bouts they push the quality and importance of more than they should to create their own narrative. This doesn't fall into that category, and it's
ladder matches are crazy too.
What happened was Shawn Michaels ended up getting suspended for a steroid violation, even though he claims that at his lowest, roids were something he never turned to. Because of this, he had to forfeit the Intercontinental Championship, and since he couldn't defend it within 30 days, the title was put up for grabs. Razor won it, but when HBK popped back up, the title
He had to get that back in blood.
The simple
Had to get that back in
both
blood.
championships would be suspended above the ring, and the winner would become undisputed Intercontinental.
He came back with his own. They said both of them was dangling. He came back with the OG one. He took that to the crib.
The winner would become undisputed Intercontinental Champion.
Dude.
In modern ladder matches, there's a lot more luxury.
Who's that?
The
Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes?
The ladder burial spot, the ladder bridge, the rung break. They have multiple at their disposal.
One of the craziest ladder bridges. I think, if I remember right, it was a Money in the Bank, and I think Shelton Benjamin got put through one.
To be creative and do more, but this one only had one.
I
Only
think
one ladder was available.
I can't remember if he did it or was the one that went through it.
Of course, there have been better ones, but you have to put yourself back in these times. They were doing a lot of heavy hitting And if not for this one, the innovations that came later are non-existent. The big snapshot moment is when Shawn hits a splash from up high. Regardless of that, both guys wine and dine at a punishment buffet, and this is something you truly have to sit down and watch for yourself to appreciate. You're gonna hear me say that a lot throughout this video. Shawn was tied up in the ropes and had to look up at Ramon unhooking the titles and taking it all. That, ladies and gentlemen,
that was a WrestleMania
the
10.
first time Mr. Wrestlemania stole the show. The next year, he took on his former bodyguard in a story of the monster outgrowing the guy he was protecting on a terrible WrestleMania 11. This was a bright spot. After this came the 1-hour Iron Man match against Bret Hart at WrestleMania 12, and this one has a spectrum. Either you love it or you hate it. One side sees it as nothing more than an overrated match that had far too many rest holds and 0 falls at the end of 60. The other side will tell you that none of these guys having a fall is what added to the drama. It was a stylistic masterpiece that the former just won't understand. A slow escalation to the ultimate.
I never seen this match, so it might be good. I never seen this match.
Inside of the hour plus overtime. The night HBK's.
Let me know in the comments who you guys top 5.
Zipline down to the ring was also when the boyhood dream came true. After winning the Rumble, Shawn won his first world championship.
Shaq got a
Just
shot?
like the ladder match earlier, this one holds significance in that it's the first Iron Man match on pay-per-view for the company. A friendly rivalry that was so big between two in-ring technicians that it could only go down with a stipulation that pushed their limits. The next year, the rumor is that it was supposed to be these two running it back, but this time Bret was supposed to win. Months beforehand, Shawn came out, told everyone that he had lost his smile, vacated the title because of a quote-unquote career-threatening injury before returning to the ring just 3 months later.
He won the same after he hurt his back, though.
That the knee ailment was significant enough that it could end his career, while Bret thought that Shawn just didn't want to do the job. When you look at the greatness of this resume, the first half here is good, but when that second peak arrives is when things go into overdrive.
There we go. That's the Shawn I know.
It was time for Stone Cold to get his crowning moment. He won the 98 Rumble.
That Mike Tyson?
The same show in a match against The Undertaker, Shawn clipped his back on a casket, herniating discs in his back. At this time, Shawn was in an awful place physically and mentally, and the decision was made that he wouldn't wrestle until the main event. On the flip side, the odds were being stacked against Austin, with Mike Tyson on DX's side being named the special ring enforcer, and Vince McMahon outright saying that he didn't want Steve as the WWF champion since his current image would be a corporate nightmare. The two had a good match that easily could have been in the all-timer category. Austin said, "We didn't get the chance to pull out all the stops. I didn't get the best of Shawn Michaels, and he didn't get the best of me." He also added that the two barely talked. As we all know, Shawn Michaels had that confrontational nature, and since he knew this was it for him, he saw putting over Stone Cold as the ultimate sign of respect, and he didn't want to work anything else out. Triple H went room to room for them to cobble this thing together, and when you listen to people giving their testimonies on the physical and psychological state,
Mike Tyson looks so funny in a DX shirt. I don't know why, he just looks funny.
Second prime he had. Michaels told Triple H at one point he wishes he would have taken so many pills that it would have killed him, that would have made him the biggest star of all time. When Austin became the guy, the feeling for Shawn was, how could this happen to him? This was supposed to be his era. He was the guy who was under insurmountable pressure and meeting it however he knew, including with a horrible drug and alcohol problem. Why did this have to happen?
I feel like a lot of wrestlers deal with that, bro. Like, well, obviously some of them do steroids. I mean, that's a given. But I'm saying, like, pills and alcohol, like, really, you gotta think, bro. Really going out there and performing night in, night out, or once every week. Especially, like, I feel like now the workload management's a little toned down. But back then, bro, you had to put on the show, bro. Like,
taken away from him just like that. His life was spiraling out of control. The one thing he loved more than anything, he was no longer able to do. And now he was even starting to lose those that were closest to him. On the night where Vince McMahon announced the purchase of WCW, Shawn and Triple H had a falling out backstage where HBK went on a rant about how the game didn't come to his defense after he walked into a room with some big WWE stars completely being unprofessional. The Heartbreak Kid's kid changed his life and helped him clean up. He found God, he found himself, and he found the hunger to go at it one more time and get closure on his career. After 4 years away came the in-ring return. SummerSlam 2002. unsanctioned street fight.
Yeah, I remember that
The only
feud.
man he trusts to be in.
I don't remember it, but I remember
A
seeing
one-off
this. I
appearance
won't
then
dare to see
turned
this.
into a second prime and then started a new run of excellence. As far as WrestleMania goes, it was a mirror.
What's that, Gold Dust?
Started a new run of excellence.
What's that, Gold Dust? They got Booker T. Lil Lot Booker. Lil Lot Booker T. Gold Dust. I don't know who these guys are.
WrestleMania goes, it was a mirror clash.
Chris Jericho.
Y2J Chris Jericho.
What's that facial hair? What is this beard, Chris? I'm glad you left that a note too.
The story of the idolizer
Don't bring that back.
Overzealous and needing to win to prove that he was better.
Don't get that back.
Came face to face with his childhood idol, now thinking he surpassed everything the original did in his time. On the night after HBK lost the World Heavyweight Championship, Chris Jericho came out and told him that those 3 letters now stood for Has Been Kid. That Shawn was now essentially Shaq in a Celtics jersey. That Micheals was the reason he became a wrestler, and the old Shawn by any means would have found a way to keep that championship. These two got such a positive reaction that the decision was made to run this as a WrestleMania match. Originally it was going to be Edge and Jericho because Shawn wasn't factored in. Micheals played mind games with Jericho, luring him into taking the #1 spot at the Rumble. After all, if he was Shawn 2.0, then he needed to.
This man's shirt looking illusion.
Shawn took #1 himself, and Jericho ran the fake out with Christian at #2, sending Micheals packing. But he got even later in the Rumble, and Chris was a pure savage in all of this. You wanted to see this guy get beat up. That's how well these two meshed together. Eventually, the challenge was laid out by Jericho, and it was on. The WrestleMania return of the Heartbreak Kid for the first.
The Rock, Booker T, Shawn Michaels, Vince McMahon. You can't tell me Vince wasn't on steroids. You can't tell me Vince wasn't on steroids. Just look at Vince, bro. You can't tell me he won't own something.
Time in 4 years, the same guy Jericho patterned himself after. Was he truly the same guy? Was he truly still the show?
I remember. I don't know when it was. I just remember when Chris Jericho came back. Somebody was doing a promo, and his names popped up. Y2J, he had to decipher the code. He was Y2J, and Chris Jericho came back. Oh man, good time. That was like what, 06?
Field WrestleMania 19 on a show that was stacked with top tier matches. This one lived up to the hype and then some. Both guys had their dancing shoes on, and the story was simple. On the other side, it's a reflection of yourself. Counter for counter, hold for hold, finisher for finisher, mannerism for mannerism, hammering home that these two were that close. So much so that Shawn took the win by the skin of his teeth with a roll-up. I also just wanted to add how these two men's attire perfectly contrast one another. Jericho has gone on record to say that this is his favorite WrestleMania match, while Shawn here got a taste and wanted more. He knew he could do this full time again, and come the next year, a match with Triple H at WrestleMania 20 made a lot of sense. After all, this was a series that had been going on. The animosity was there.
When that were a heavyweight title.
The standing match at Royal Rumble 2004, it was a draw with no definitive winner.
And then they came back, and DS came back in like 09.
The Royal Rumble that year, he was a SmackDown superstar.
Chris Benoit. RIP Chris Benoit, y'all. Let's get RIP Chris Benoit in the chat, man. Let's get RIP Chris Benoit in the chat, man.
Title shots by Paul
RIP Chris.
So it looked like it was gonna be Shawn and Triple H.
Figure 4. You ever figure 4 a motherfucker on the trampoline? On the bed? Y'all wrestling in the bathhouse at the birthday? Y'all weren't really doing that, man. Y'all ain't really had nobody in the figure 4 for real. Yeah. Yeah. Man, I ain't do that.
Instead went to Raw.
The walls Jericho hurt too.
The story from his end was that he'd been waiting for that big break. He was the underdog who scratched and clawed his way against the odds. That Chris was always the
look at Ric Flair.
Always second place, always the bridesmaid. And according to Ric Flair, he kept letting go of the brass ring, and history will repeat itself at WrestleMania 20. Shawn was told by Stone Cold if he wanted in on the world title match to do something about it. And clearly Rhea Ripley and John Cena watched this tape back, because before they did it, Shawn did it. He signed the contract and it was official. All these guys got their chance to shine, and there were so many false finishes, so many desperation plays. Triple H tapped out and Benoit definitively got the win. When we talk about triple threats, here's the common culprits within the WWE.
Hold on, wait, let me see how the ones they popped up with the triple threats.
Which is so many desperation plays. Triple H tapped out and Benoit definitively
That's like a beautiful
got the
match.
win.
I'm gonna have to go watch it.
When we talk about
Oh man, this one right here.
Triple threats.
Oh man,
Here's the common culprits with.
I don't think I've seen this one. I've seen the first two. Actually, that one just at WrestleMania. WrestleMania just passed.
This one might be the best.
41.
And it
Man, that was
because it's been erased
really
from
good.
existence. Shawn played a huge part in making this match what it was. The greatest main event that never happened. I started to wonder in hindsight, because of everything that's happened, what a one-on-one Micheals Triple H match would have looked like, especially since they just.
I might say we've seen plenty of them. They just won at WrestleMania.
Would it be a 3 stages of hell? Would it be something bigger? They already destroyed one another in every other way.
I say Hell in a Cell match was crazy.
Just like what if
they had like a no disqualification match
instead of Vince McMahon. This was the plan for 2006, and you just know all these years later, if this happened, I'd be sitting here telling you about a masterclass in storytelling, and this run that HBK had might be seen as even better. You already know Shawn and Eddie would have melted the ring with how legendary that
would have been a crazy match.
Wherever you look in this WrestleMania resume, it's classics, and we got another one. WrestleMania 21, Shawn Michaels, Kurt Angle. Two of the most elite tacticians in every category you can name. And the way WWE pulled this off was perfect. You have a dream match happening on the grandest stage. Both guys need to walk in as sharp as they've ever been. Both guys have to win by any means necessary, because the guy on the other side truly has a case that they're better than them. This build hit really well on the competitive aspect.
Just a match. When they talk about 100 men versus the Gorilla, people like Brock Lesnar, people like Perk Angle, people like the Great Khali, R.I.P. Umaga. These the motherfuckers we need to send to the Gorilla. We don't need Joe that work at FedEx. You feel me? Like, we need Ben Wallace as we need real fighters going out there.
Kurt Angle becomes
that's what we need.
Obsessed with wanting to show that anything Shawn did, he could.
Motherfucking Ryback. That's what we need going out there.
He hated that ever since he's been in the WWE, all anyone ever talks about is this other guy. When in his heart of hearts, he knew that he was the best wrestler to ever live. For the first time in his career, Shawn referred to himself as Mr. Wrestlemania, telling Angle that everyone's best shot wasn't enough when he took to that stage, that there was no performer who could keep up with him. It was all about being better. Styles make fights, and these twos was a recipe for not just a top-tier WrestleMania match, but one for the history books. A match so good that describing it on YouTube would be a disservice to the art.
No, that's a good
one. It was Shawn's idea to have Angle go over via tap out. Really chew on that for a second. A guy with the reputation for not wanting to lose spoke into existence, hey, you should make me tap out. We're gonna put on a clinic so you end up looking strong. If you have not, and I know you guys have, you need to watch this match. No blow for blow breakdown can bring this one. You guys have. You need
hey, bro, listen, I just smack you like that. What you doing?
No blow for blow breakdown can bring this one justice. It's so good, and I said it in the 2005 video. When you have a dream match like this, it's very easy to stand on the letdown side. It's happened time after time after time. This next one might be a sleeper hit and really proves
Let me see what he better bring up.
That some guys can wrestle a broomstick to a good match. Shawn Michaels versus Vince McMahon in a rivalry that was unbelievably petty and a humiliation ritual against Shawn Michaels. Years after the Montreal Screwjob, Vince wanted to give his thoughts on the Bret Hart DVD, and he wanted Shawn to tell the fans all about how they screwed Bret. Michaels said he'd do it again, but Vince needs to move on. That's all he told him. Move on. And this guy, because of that one line, gave a whole new meaning to petty and made Shawn public enemy number one. He banned his Sweet Chin music, put him in at number one in the Elimination Chamber match, made him team with enemies, put his WWE contract and Royal Rumble spot on the line. We've seen a lot of these machine versus superstar stories in WWE history, but this one is different in that it's not necessarily an underdog story. It's just the boss abusing his power to the fullest.
Vince has always been a dick. I mean, that's Vince though. Like, I mean, if you think Vince gonna be fair, he gonna care about you. You in the wrong league, brother.
that he wants to
Vince
quit.
has always been a
Vince
dickhead.
tells Shawn to remember who he was. Remember the fun he had all those
Why are these
years
pictures
back.
just
He
so
says he's ready to
low
do it
quality?
again
Well, it is
himself,
from like
and he wants that old party animal,
oh
Bill
05.
Copper, pre-God Micheals to make a comeback. Shane eventually screwed him out of the Rumble. Then they took him out of an 8-man Road to WrestleMania tournament, forcing Shawn to sign his resignation papers, bringing in lawyers to make things official. But he didn't do this. He rips them up, and Vince says that right there opened the gates to his own personal hell. To spite him more, first Shawn's in a handicap match against the Spirit Squad. Then his old buddy Marty Jannetty is brought in for the second of back-to-back WrestleMania builds, this time to join Vince's Kiss My Ass Club. Pretty spiteful overall, but hang in there, it gets even pettier.
Didn't somebody else have to do that?
Stephanie McMahon approaches Shawn backstage to make amends and say sorry for what's happening, but when she gets a cramp, Shawn leaves to find help and she spikes his water.
But my gosh.
It gets worse. So Shawn
oh my gosh, she's putting pills in his drink. These storylines used to get really crazy back then. For her to fake a pregnancy,
spikes his water. But wait, it gets worse.
What did she put in the
Shawn
drink?
Can't move in this match, so much so that he loses to Shane and Vince back to back. The final FU to Shawn was a public urine test, assuming that he was on substances.
Bro, this is so childish, bro. Vince top 5 childish people in the world to ever exist, and he's not 4 or 5, bro.
And not the Christian he proclaimed to be.
And then she spiked the drink.
But there's a lot of stuff.
Then he failed the test.
There's a lot of stuff that came after this as well. You know, teaming up with God and all that. Look, you have to take into account that Vince McMahon was 60 years old at this point, and his athletic ability. Well, let's just say this is the guy who tore both quads
when he tried to slide into the ring, bro. Bro was sliding and tore both quads
down to the ring. This was not going to be a traditional match because it couldn't be. The heavy lifting needed to be done by HBK. The one thing that really helped masquerade this was it being a no-holds-barred match, and McMahon being completely open arms and ready to take whatever bump he needed. Run-ins and weapon spots make this one a blast to watch. Shawn pulls out this 12-foot ladder and hits an elbow through a trash can.
Oh my gosh.
Over Vince while he lays on a table. Off the top, I talked about the range, and you really see it here. At 40 years old, having a fun match against a 61-year-old, you gotta step back and just give your props. Chicago got to see Triple H and John Cena main event this show, something that was supposed to be repeated the following year. But because of a quad injury, the King of Kings had to miss the show of shows. No better replacement than his best friend.
Shawn.
At the 2007 Royal Rumble, the final two in their home state were Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker. The dead man won the right to face whatever champion he wanted, and the person he wanted to take Taker.
Why Bobby Lashley got Finley like that? Why Bobby Lashley got Finley like that? And is Shelton Benjamin biting somebody? I don't even know who that is. My boy MVP. Carlito, Randy, before he became the legend. Wait, man.
The dead man won the right to face whatever champion he wanted, and the person he wanted
he started
to take
punting everybody
was Batista. That left the WWE
this was a good match.
Wide open, and Michaels won a triple threat to become the #1 contender.
That was a really good
Michaels
match.
Also held the tag team championship, and it was the old will he won't he. When does Shawn finally turn his back on his partner? They just kept teasing it and teasing it and
sweet chinned his ass.
To the point where Cena was psychologically drained, thinking that it could happen at any moment, leading to HBK asking, why is no one talking about Cena turning on him? Their bond was put to the test by putting their tag team championships up for grabs in a tag team title gauntlet, and JBL added fuel to the fire, asking for the...
If y'all like it or not, y'all can fight me. JBL's one of the best heels. JBL's one of the best heels. They had that man in Mexico at the border sending... Bro, just saying it out loud is crazy. He was at the border, making sure people didn't jump it. Okay, he
top 5 heel, bro.
This matchup
really my favorite heel, bro.
The drama throughout and a perfect placement of moments. How they built up to the finishers was well done. They didn't dilute them in any way because the message was both guys were chipping away at each other, and it was the fight for that one final blow. That one blow that could be the winner. For Cena, it was the STF that brought him the win, and there were also rumors that Shawn was angry at John because he didn't sell the knee for enough time. He didn't go for the handshake that was supposed to happen at the top of the ramp. There's also a point in this match where Micheals gets in his face and starts cutting a promo. What was also happening behind the scenes was a tough decision. A decision that Vince McMahon made for Ric Flair because he wouldn't. He informed him that he knew he'd do this forever if he could, but it was time to build to his retirement match. Reality meshed with
Retirement, man.
and Triple H has said that Vince described this as why a jockey was put on a racehorse. Somebody's got to pull the reins or they'll run until they die. It's his job to pull the reins. Flair didn't want things to come to an end after a storybook career, championship reigns that the company doesn't even recognize, styling and profiling all around the world. But he had to face
the Nature Boy
head on, and it was time to bow out gracefully. There's great documentary footage out there about how broken Flair was at this point heading into WrestleMania in Orlando. He truly didn't want to retire, but he knew if he didn't, it wasn't going to go well for him. McMahon came out and he made the stipulation official. If Ric Flair loses a singles match, anyone in any way, his WWE career ends with it. But he kept hanging in there and hanging in there. And just when he thought it was over, he hung in there. Shawn Michaels
he had to
came
fight
out to
Shawn
announce
Michaels.
that the Nature Boy was going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2008. These two crossed paths with Flair asking to go one-on-one with Mr.Wrestlemania himself. Over the last stretch of Shawn's run, he does a really good job at hammering home what he's thinking so the audience understands. Here you
Bro, that's this is so crazy.
Is his idol, so he wants the match, but he doesn't want to be known as the guy who ended the greatest career of all time. Rick takes this the wrong way, thinking that Micheals has assumed a result that hasn't happened yet. After some convincing, it's a yes, but he backpedals again before the match is back on the table. What Flair hates in all of this is the pity party. He hates that Shawn keeps trying to help him. He doesn't like his catchphrase being repeated and thrown at him, and he brings out the NWA World's Heavyweight Championship, running down the list of all the guys he's beat, saying if Shawn was a little older, he'd also be on that list. He needs it. He needs one more night. But then Micheals tells the tale of Old Yeller, that they loved that dog, but when it came time, they took him out back and finished him.
Down.
On Sunday, the showstopper's going to take you, Old Yeller, behind the woodshed and put you out of your misery. This sets Flair off the deep end. Now. WrestleMania 24 might be the most emotional wrestling match in WWE history.
Man, he looked at him and said, "I'm sorry, man."
And take you on a roller coaster ride from the home of Universal Studios. At one point, Micheals is reluctant to pull the trigger, which almost causes him to lose. The ending death blow is what's fondly remembered. With Ric Flair stirring, hands braced, ready to square up again, Shawn looks at his idol, refusing to say die, fighting with all he has left, and he says, "I'm sorry, I love you." Hits a third sweet chin music, and he ends it. That's it for the career of the Nature Boy. Flair breaks down after this, soaking in the moment, saying goodbye, and that's it. The theatrics from Shawn weren't scripted. It was something he did in the spur of the moment, and I think my appreciation grows when I hear something like that. The silence and delivery created not just a WrestleMania moment.
Just want to let everybody know, nothing in WWE wrestling is scripted.
But a WrestleMania
just throw it out there for y'all. Throw it out there for y'all.
Creating a story out of Ric Flair going well past his best buy date was dynamite.
They got the snow bunnies in there crying, y'all.
Guys who legitimately have a claim.
Then WrestleMania 25 when he almost ended that streak.
The magical, the mythical, and the unbeatable. Picture this. It's two guys in any profession coming one-on-one. They both excel to a level.
Mr. Wrestlemania versus the dude who was on a streak.
This one event.
Ain't lost.
One man is known as the guy who can take anyone's best shot and deliver a performance for the ages. The other man has dominated WrestleMania through sheer numbers and an unbeatable streak. That's something you actually get once in a lifetime. Guys with so much history behind them now meeting mano a mano. Light versus dark, heaven versus hell, good versus evil.
And it's the 25th anniversary.
Reborn. It's beautiful how things work out sometimes. 2 years before this, Shawn and Undertaker were the final two in the Rumble, and both of them went on to face the faces of this generation. The next year, they started the Rumble at 1 and 2 with Michaels
John Cena
revenge from the previous year.
Look at John Morrison.
There's also a matchup between these two that was one of the reasons why Shawn even had a second prime. In storyline, Micheals had fallen on hard times, not knowing that they breed better men. He told fans that the economy had hit everyone hard, his injuries were building up, and that he had made some poor financial decisions. Because of this, he took up JBL's offer of a 1-year general employment contract to keep his family afloat, and that if he didn't, he'd become a wrestling tragedy. Undertaker eventually told Shawn it's hell trying to get to heaven. Once Shawn got out of his contract with JBL, HBK was a free man. Both
and that's a
Undertaker.
That might be my new Instagram caption. I ain't gonna lie, that's a bar. It's hell trying to get that. Yeah,
after beating
that's a bar.
Kozlov and JBL, Micheals had his shot secured. He said he didn't fear the dead man and streaks are made to be broken, with Undertaker adding that Shawn should be concerned with what he's going to do to him physically and mentally.
I think him winning this made him 18-0.
This line works really well, knowing that we got 2 matches. Even though Drew was supposed to challenge the streak in 2010, they both tried to one-up each other, with Shawn going to a graveyard and showing his opponent a tombstone that read 16-1.
Okay, yeah, so it was set to 17. Okay.
To rest in peace. At one point, Shawn mimics Undertaker by dressing in all white and talking about how similar both men's careers are. Then on Raw, reminding him that he's never beaten him, that every single time in the past few weeks, he's gotten the best of him, that he's in his head. The heaven and hell elements were played into with both guys' entrances. Shawn descends from the rafters in all white, while Undertaker rises up from the stage in all black. In video form, just like Kurt and Shawn, you'll never be able to appreciate how...
Bro, I seen this match!
Because it's just not possible.
This was the first WrestleMania my grandma bought me. Spam does in the chat for my grandma, boy. This was the first WrestleMania my grandma ever got me, bro.
Just one of the greatest WrestleMania matches of all time. It's one of the greatest.
Because she was an Undertaker fan.
Full stop.
And she thought he might lose.
From the entrances to the little entrances.
It was the first one my grandma ever got me.
The game of cat and mouse, the divide in the audience, the near falls, the stylistic differences.
It was back. Oh my god.
The fact that it was one mistake that brought Shawn to his demise. One critical mistake led to Shawn losing. A moonsault caught into a tombstone pile driver, and that spelt 17-0 for The Undertaker. A match that rightfully won Match of the Year in 2009, but when Shawn went to accept the Slammy, he told him he knew he could beat him. That Slammy
ran it back.
Was a win, but it was symbolism of a job unfinished, and the challenge was laid out. Undertaker's answer was no. He had nothing left to prove to Shawn. Then HBK made the decision. He has to earn it. He'll win the Rumble and he'll get his rematch, and this time it won't just be the streak on the line, but also the World Heavyweight Championship. But that also wouldn't be, and he sold losing this like death. The only thing that mattered was getting to The Undertaker and getting a shot at redemption. Deadpan chasing one thing and one thing only. Refusing
it was a fatal 4-way? What was it? It was what? John Cena, him, and John Cena, Batista, and I don't know who the third one. I can't remember who the third person was.
Refusing to let it be.
But I remember this match though.
Refusing to listen to the universe, kicking general managers in the face because they wouldn't trade for him. Not even his.
Is that Stan? What? I just can't stand it. Yeah. Boy, switching the whole backbone.
With Undertaker's world title on the line, Shawn spawned from under the pod and kicked him square in the face, costing him the title. Reverse engineering the whole situation, making him so mad that he had to exact revenge, but it came with a caveat: the career of Shawn Michaels.
If he lost, he had to retire.
Answered with, "If I can't beat you at WrestleMania, I have no career." In the coming weeks, the challenger hammered home the word fear, that the streak would die, and for the first time in forever, there was fear in the dead man's eyes. He was unfulfilled, having done everything in the business, but it was that one loss that tore him apart. He also knew that Undertaker was that close to losing. Eventually, he told The Undertaker that he's coming to end the streak, but not at WrestleMania. The Rock then showed up to take Shawn's spot. That didn't happen. This video was getting way too serious for a second. So here it is, the finale, WrestleMania 26. Two guys who were in their mid-40s last year just had a career-defining performance. This year they were going to go at it again with amplified stakes and in the main event. Yet again, it was another well-laid-out match. Is it as good as 25? You can make that judgment yourself. Both guys threw out their best shot, and Undertaker eventually had pity for Shawn just like he did for Flair. But then the defiance kicked in, that recurring throat slash and refusal to say die. A tombstone later, and the career of the Heartbreak Kid was over. On
Damn.
the stage, he dominated
Oh
for
my
years.
gosh.
The place where he had classics, the place where he made a career for himself. He had one last bullet in the chamber, and that one came back to hit him square in the face. One final salute.
Gotta go out with a bang, man.
All-time great.
That's the best way to
He
go.
tells everyone, thank you for a wonderful life. The epilogue to his WrestleMania career came 2 years later in the end of an era match. Yeah, I know it's not an in-ring contest for Shawn, but as much as anything else, his choice hanging in the balance is one of the biggest storyline threads. It really wraps up this 4-year saga because he's stuck
was really
in between
good,
a
man.
rock and a hard place. Undertaker earned his respect and retired him. He now understood the weight of the streak and the depths he'd go to keep hold of it. Would he corrupt his morals to stick it to the guy who was the reason he couldn't do it anymore, or would he stick it to his best friend after all they've gone through? His involvement made the match all the more interesting because of all the dynamics and everything tying in perfectly.
I'm telling you,
At the end of
man.
the day, it wouldn't be, and the streak lived on. And that was it for Mr. Wrestlemania.
Bro, oh my god, bro, it's so when you just really just sit back and look, bro, it's so many good moments in like the attitude of aggression area, bro. Like it hits more for me, because that's when I was kind of like watching wrestling, but bro, it's
He walked onto the grandest stage,
Man.
and even in his most underappreciated matches, delivered.
And SmackDown vs. Raw 2009 was one of the best ones.
WrestleMania, and his resume is one of the reasons for the show being where it's at. More often than not, he was stealing the show with the best match on the card. Consistency, quality, longevity, moments, and once he walked
W
off his
video,
playground
W
for the
video,
final time,
W
there's
video.
been no one to match him since. No matter the era, no matter the wrestler, there
Man.
will truly always be one
Mr. WrestleMania. Ah, sit it with him. Hey man, if you made it all the way through, I know I yap a lot, bro, but I love wrestling, man. It is what it is. Look though, like I said, Shawn Michaels top 5. Y'all let me know y'all top 5 down below. Made it to the end. Appreciate y'all, and I'm out.